It's Who's In, Who's Out on 97.3 ESPN FM, South Jersey's football station.
All right, South Jersey's football station. Who's in, who's out? The 12 teams that we think will make the NFL playoffs. Mike Gill, John McMullen. We're live at the Golden Nugget in Atlantic City, right outside the Rush Lounge, the Golden Gridiron. Make your picks. And make sure you retweet at Golden Nugget AC for a chance to win a tailgate party. I see the retweets are coming fast and furious. I'll announce the winning name at 5:30 tonight. John, I got a change in the AFC. I have two blanks in the NFC. I have no idea where to go in a couple of spots here. But let's see how Week 7 has changed who's in and who's out of the NFL playoffs. The Jets pushed the Patriots there a little bit, but the Patriots held them off. Therefore, I stay with the Pats of the East. Easy choice.
Yeah, 6-0 team. As we talk about every week, I think 13 wins is their birthright. They're going to get there again. But the Jets are the real deal. Very good defensively.
Eagles beat that team, by the way. On the road.
Signature win you were looking for.
On the road. In the North, Cincinnati is still perfect. They're a plus 60. They've, been about as flawless as a football team that you can find this year, other than the Patriots, who have just been dominant. But that next tier of teams, I think the Bengals might be the best of the rest.
Yeah, I would even argue they might be the best. I think they're the most well-rounded team in football, and it's tough to pick Andy Dalton over Tom Brady. But for this season, nobody's playing better football than Andy Dalton at the quarterback position. Let's see how long it will continue. But they're going to win that division. Yeah,
well, but if push comes to shove, I'll take Brady over Dalton in a playoff game, and I don't care if that game's in the jungle. In the South, this is a worse division than the NFC East. I'm making that proclamation right now. This division's worse than the NFC East. And I know the Colts seem like the easy choice, and I'm going to stick with them. Their schedule's brutal coming up, John. Texans have all sorts of problems, but I thought they put their foot down finally. That was a disaster if they were going to let Ryan Mallett stay on that team. That could be something that does something for that team. The Colts have a gauntlet of games coming up here. This division could be a 6-10 winner. A 6-10 winner.
Yeah, the Colts are going to win the division. You could argue, and obviously things have gone bad. I think Chuck Pagano's gone. I think Ryan Grigson's gone. I don't think anybody's coming back as far as coach or general manager, and they're still going to win the division because they haven't lost. They haven't lost a division game since the dinosaurs roamed the earth. Until they lose one,
it's going to have to happen soon. Let me quickly give a quick rundown of what they have coming up. All right, at Carolina,
they're going to lose.
3-5. Denver,
going to lose.
3-6. At Atlanta,
they probably will lose.
3-7. Tampa Bay,
win.
So Tampa Bay, they'd be 4-7. At Pittsburgh,
loss.
That's 8 losses. At Jacksonville,
win.
Home to Houston,
win.
Miami,
home.
They're at Miami,
loss.
At home against Tennessee,
win.
That's 9 losses. That's a 7-9 team right there.
But what did they do? They won every single division game. Until they lose a division game, they're not losing that division. 7-9 or not, they're still going to win the division.
That's what we're talking about with that Jacksonville team, and that's how bad that. I got to look at Houston's schedule because, quite frankly, if they have an easier slate, I might have to make a change at one of these weeks because I think that's a 7-9 Colts team.
What do you think the Houston Texans are going to beat the Indianapolis Colts? That's what it's going to come down to.
The winner of that game might win the division at 7-9. All right, in the West, I got Denver.
Yeah, I mean, 6-0 team. It's just a matter. The only thing about Denver is, can they get the offense going? Are they going to make a run in January? That's the bigger question.
Wild cards. Sticking with the Jets, but I got a change in the number 2 spot.
I am sticking with the Jets. I also have a change in the number 2 spot.
Did you go where I went?
I went Oakland Raiders.
Wow. I thought about it, and I was impressed by them laying the smackdown on the candy asses of the Chargers.
Derek Carr, Amari Cooper, finally going in the right direction. Pittsburgh's going to get Ben Roethlisberger back, so I'm not going to say this is going to stay the same, but as a snapshot in time, I think right now the Oakland Raiders are better than the Pittsburgh Steelers.
I was very disappointed with the Steelers losing to Kansas City. I know Landry Jones is playing quarterback, but you're at home. That Chiefs team has been awful. That's a game that you got to fight and claw and figure out a way to win. I went Miami, and I'm telling you, this guy Campbell might be up for Coach of the Year. I got to be honest with you. They were dominant. They've got a different – and here's the difference between this team. Well, yeah, offensively, Tannehill's played a lot better. But they had a nasty defensive personnel that wasn't performing. Sue and Wake, they get to the quarterback, and they have done it the last 2 weeks. That's a good defensive team. I wasn't sold on them at the beginning of the year, mainly because I didn't like their offensive talent. But this guy Campbell has added a little energy, and that defense is playing at the level that you should be afraid. You should be afraid.
They certainly have talent on the defensive side of the ball. I'm just so disgusted with that group for not playing at all for Joe Philbin and Kevin Coyle. I don't want that in my locker room. The fact that they like one guy and they're going to play and they're not going to play for another guy, I think eventually that's going to show up. And that lack of leadership, that lack of commitment is going to keep them out of the playoffs.
All right, so that's our AFC. Who's in and who's out. In the NFC, Arizona in the West, they regrouped last night. They got a home win. I wasn't overly impressed with them last night, but they do have some nice weapons. Carson Palmer, Johnson obviously played well last night. They got a couple of options at running back. So I still like Arizona in the West.
Yeah, so do I. And Baltimore, obviously 1-6, worst record in football along with Detroit. But that's the best 1-6 team in history. They've had a chance to win every single one of those games in the fourth quarter. They're the first team in 15 years to be within one score in the fourth quarter and be 1-6. So they're better than they look. And Arizona's a solid football team. Not quite as good as I thought they were going to be, but still solid.
I agree with you there. Not as good as I thought they were. Still good defensively, too. Arizona in the West. In the South, Carolina 6-0. I'm sticking with Carolina.
Yeah, you have to. I'm concerned with their lack of skill position people. I think at some point that's going to jump up and haunt them. But right now they're just playing great football. Luke Kuechly back. And Thomas Davis, my Lord, what a linebacker.
Yeah.
3 torn ACL, same knee, and he's playing like that.
And by the way, you talk about not having a lot of weapons. Cam Newton's throwing the ball to Ted Ginn and Philly Brown. So, look, you got to make do. You got to make do.
Greg Olson's a heck of a tight end.
He is.
And they do run the football. And they're what Philadelphia fans want the Eagles to be. They are a big, bad, physical team that wants to beat you up with the running game. And you saw it. They were the first team to beat up the Eagles in the running game. And they're going to continue to do that because that's the philosophy they have.
That's an interesting thing, too, because I wonder how much not having D'Amico out there was a difference because the Eagles seemed like they were hitting on the point of attack, but they just weren't being able to stop the pile. The pile kept moving in the opposite direction.
Huge defense. If you have a throwing team, you'd probably want Michael Kendricks in there, but against a team that's going to run downhill, you want D'Amico Ryans 10 times out of 10 over Michael Kendricks in a game like that.
In the East, the last couple of weeks, we've both gone Eagles. They had won 2 in a row. They seem like they at least got their things together. All right, in the East right now, where New York sits atop, the Redskins are number 2, Philadelphia is 3, and Dallas at 2 and 4 is in dead last. Which way are you going in the East?
This is a vote of disgust for the Philadelphia Eagles, the New York Giants, and the Dallas Cowboys.
Oh, gosh.
Yes, the Washington Redskins are going to win the NFC East.
The Washington Redskins, he said, fellas. He said the Washington Redskins. Look, they won last week. They showed some heart. They came back. They came back against the Eagles and won on the final drive and then completely fell apart the next couple of weeks after that. They play New England coming up. They play Carolina coming up. That's a team that, look, I'll give them credit for fighting hard, and I know they came down from 24 down and came back. They did it against the Eagles, too, and didn't gain any momentum off that. They can't run the ball. They're not a great defensive team, and they got the worst quarterback probably in the division. So I can't go that way. I'm going to go I'm going to go with the Giants. Again, I
hate that team.
I think they found maybe a little spark in the running game with this kid Darkwa. He added a little bit of an extra explosion because Jennings wasn't giving them enough. They might get JPP to give them a little bit of something on the pass rush there. I'm going Eli. I'm going Eli over Castle. I'm going Eli over Cousins. I'm going Eli over Bradford or Sanchez. And I got to go Giants at this stage of the season.
You know, the dirty little secret of that Giants win over the Cowboys is that the Cowboys dominated that game, outplayed the Giants, and the Cowboys haven't been able to beat the little sisters of the poor since Romo and Bryant went down, and they were a significantly better team than the New York Giants. There is no way in the world the Giants hold on to this division. They are an awful football team.
Agree.
And I just hate the Washington Redskins a little bit less than the three other teams in this division.
There are four really bad teams, John, and I'm just strictly going off the quarterback. That's it. Right now, I'm going Eli over the rest, and it pains me to have to say that. In the wild card spots, Atlanta, I think we've both gone Atlanta for virtually the entire year. You had Carolina and Atlanta flip-flopped at one point, but they've always had a South team in that wild card. That second wild card spot, John, all right, let me break it down for you. Washington's 3-4, Philadelphia's 3-4, Minnesota's 4-2, Chicago's 2-4, New Orleans is 3-4, Tampa's 2-4, the Rams are 3-3, the Seahawks are 3-4. Where are you going?
I am going obviously Atlanta. I mean, they might be 12-4 and be a not that great of a football team, but obviously that's going to put them in a wild card spot. That I agree with. Minnesota would be the next obvious selection, but I got to tell you, a lot of injuries. John Sullivan, who's a great Pro Bowl center. They just found out this week he's gone for the year. Sharif Floyd, who's a really good defensive tackle, Philadelphia native. He tore a cartilage in his foot. That's going to be a multi-week injury. I'm back on the Seattle bandwagon, even though that's San Francisco win. That meant nothing, but this defense is still good, and they're not going to keep giving away fourth quarter leads. So I'm back on the Seahawks bandwagon.
I like the Seahawks too. I know, just like you said, that's because of what they did the other night. But they're going to they do play the Cardinals twice. They play the Cowboys coming up, which they should win that game with Castle playing quarterback. They play the Steelers. They play at the Vikings. But I think their defense they're good enough defensively. Not that pick's going to be changing. It seems like a lot.
Yeah. And that game in Minneapolis you mentioned, that might be the deciding game for the wild card slot.
They got a rematch at home. They get the Rams at home this time coming up. They close out the season against the Cardinals. They very well might need to win that game in Arizona to be that second wild card team. But right now, I agree. Too many other teams. I'll put it this way. I'll take Russell Wilson.
Yeah, and I love Teddy Bridgewater. And Minnesota, we talked about it last week. Huge step for them to get a division win on the road, but still, injuries are too much.
All right, that's our who's in, who's out this week. You heard it here on the Sports Bash. Mike and John, every Tuesday at this time, we tell you the 12 playoff teams live from the Golden Nugget.